Welcome to another Junior Developer Happy Hour. This is going to be really exciting. Sam and I started this meetup just a couple of months ago, like maybe 4 months ago, when a bunch of hiring freezes and other, just a lot of layoffs were happening. We knew that it's already quite the challenge to get your first job in tech, and with just the way that things were looking in the world, we thought, hey, let's do something to try to help people who are making this career transition or just in general starting into tech. So that's why this all happened. And I guess the way that we have been doing this in general is if people have a question that they would like to discuss for us to answer, mostly Steven to answer because he is the algorithm expert of us. Our Jitsi chat, let me get this link to share again, is going to be right here. Like, follow that link that I just posted in our in the Zoom chat. I said Jitsi, I meant to say our Slido. So our Slido is the best place to post some discussion questions, and then you can upvote, and that way we will be able to answer the questions that the most of you are interested in hearing get answered, in case we end up running out of time at the end. If there are follow-up questions, we can do our best to keep an eye in the Zoom chat over on the side. And yeah, if there end up being any sort of links that we share out, the Zoom chat is a really good place for that as well. Cool. I think that is about it. And then I can give a really quick overview of my background. I'm Braidy, located outside of Chicago. Growing up, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and knew that I enjoyed learning like spoken languages. I ended up majoring in Spanish. I minored in Italian. There's like a semester of Mandarin Chinese mixed in there at some point. And then I moved to a German-speaking country. And this whole time I was trying to think, and I would talk to everybody that I could, like, what can I do if I love learning languages? Never really figured it out. And at some point someone helped me connect the dots that computer languages are really cool too. And then I tried it out and was like blown away that I got to make really cool things with these computer languages. So that is what motivated me to quit my job that I kind of hated anyway and go to a coding boot camp. I went to Dev Boot Camp after it had been acquired by Kaplan. I went in 2017. And then I got hired on at a mid-level startup called Trunk Club in 2017 and have been working there ever since. We just got fully absorbed into Nordstrom, so lots of changes have been happening recently, but I've, for the past year or so, been working mostly front end. Officially I'm full stack, but mostly front end stuff, so JavaScript, like React, TypeScript, and then we use a tool called Rebas, which is like Material UI, if you've ever heard of that. That's plenty about me. So I'll let Sam take over from here and give a little intro on him, and then we'll hear from Steven.
Yeah, just a quick intro from me, and then we can hand it over to Steven, our special guest this week. He can give us an intro of how he went from zero to Google pretty damn quickly. It's pretty impressive. And then we can jump into the questions. So just quick intro for new people here. I'm a front-end engineer at Lyft currently. I build internal tools there. Web tools, nothing mobile, mostly visualizing data on maps. So I've been working with web maps for years. And I took a long journey to get here. I actually have a computer science degree that I got a long time ago. I never ended up using. Forgot mostly everything because I never got a job. I gave up too quickly after I graduated college. It's even hard for computer science students to get jobs too. It's hard for everybody to get their first jobs, not just bootcamp graduates. And it's not just tech either. Yeah, I think your first job in anything is just when you're switching, either your first job ever or if you're switching into a new career, that first job is the hardest because you don't have experience yet. Um, so yeah, I ended up working in the mortgage industry, and that industry blew up in 2008. And I joined the Peace Corps, left, went lived in West Africa for 3 years, came back, things were better, and I went to the boot camp right away, or I applied right away when I got back. There was a long waiting list because that was the first coding boot camp, and everybody was getting jobs, like every graduate back then, because it was like a new thing, was getting hired right out of the boot camp. So tons of people were applying. Um, I applied, and then I did a bunch of stuff. At first, I tried to help my friend start a startup. So I didn't even go on a job hunt. I just started by helping my friend start a startup, and then did contract work, and then opportunity just came. But I was doing a lot of volunteering and hackathons and meetups. And because I did all that, I think all the opportunities just came. I was talking to people every day. Um, that's one reason people moved to San Francisco. Steven made the same move from Hawaii to San Francisco. I remember when you first moved there, we met up uh, at the market, I think, on Market Street. And let me let people in, and that's good enough intro from me. If you got any other questions, you can post it in the Slido as well. And we can have Steven introduce himself now before we jump into the questions.
Sure. Where should I start? Okay, well, I'm from a small town of Hilo, Hawaii. If you guys even know where that is, that's right next to the volcano. You can go from one end to the other end in about 15 minutes. And yeah, like I always wanted to like see outside of there, so I joined the Air Force, served there for 6 years. Didn't care for it didn't really sync with me. I'll just leave it at that, and decided to like explore other opportunities. Went to college for business and management information systems. Didn't care for that, and meanwhile was working in food and beverage industry. Didn't care for that. Yeah, and then it just like so happened. I started playing board games with a bunch of engineers, and it was just amazing. I loved how like even though if it was Friday night, they would come in, bring their computers, surround that computer and try and help out each other's out, or just be like, hey, check out this new thing that I had. And it just like really jived with me, like their eagerness to learn, their openness to be wrong, their the way that they just like had like found beauty and had fun with work. And so like that just like just sparked my curiosity into it. And then like I did a first Hello World onto it, and then that was okay. And then once I made that thing with CSS Pink, then that's when it got a little flavorful. And then JavaScript, and then the rest is history on how like I mean, once you know about JavaScript, it's like such a powerful, simple thing to, and it's so powerful, but it's something so easy, right? Oh, sorry, maybe I shouldn't put it that way. But anyways, yeah, and then so I got really engrossed into it. Wanted to get professional training. I'm all about saving time, and so I went through actually 3 boot camps. One of which was here in San Francisco, and then I worked in a startup called Full Harvest, which is anyways, regardless. And then I worked at TikTok for less than 3 months, and then now I've been at Google for about a little short than 4 months. I work in backend in Google Ads, and yeah, like from what I understand, like nobody likes algorithms. I don't understand why, but it's one of my joys that I actually need to restrain myself from like diving into. I know that software engineering isn't about algorithms completely. There's so much more to it. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Oh, other things. I don't know if you guys are into this, but other things that I know that has helped me in my job search. I'm into biohacking. I'm into like productivity stuff. So if you guys have questions about that, I can share what is it that I know. I am not an expert by any means. Please, whatever it is that I say, like take it as just a single data point. And please, like what I recommend a lot of engineers is always like try to seek more clarity and like find out what is it that jives with you, what works with you. You are a complete different individual, and certain things are going to work for others, while some things are going to work for you. So
before you jump into the questions, do you mind sharing like what boot camps you went to and like why you went to 3 boot camps and how you got addicted to algorithms?
Sure. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So I went to DevLeague in Hawaii, and then after that, after I finished DevLeague, I went through this mock interview with one of my friends. He's a software engineer for a very, very long time. You might know him, Sam, Aaron Kagawa. But
yeah, I did my computer science program with him. He was in my class.
small world.
So he actually got a job and I didn't. I gave up.
Yeah.
I gave up within 6 months, I think, my first attempt at trying to break into the industry. But yeah, big mistake, but I made it. Took me 11 years, but
I think happiness and fulfillment is the main thing, and as long as you're living that life, that's what matters.
Wait, so how did you meet Aaron?
He I don't know if he was volunteering or if he was paid, but anyways, I knew him for a while, but during the boot camp, one of the sections was that he was asked to come in and he did a mock interview, and I think it was something like I was given an array with values, and then what is that I needed to do was I needed to find like those values inside of the string. And basically the way that I did it was using 2 loops. And if you don't know, like that's inefficient. There's other ways of doing it. And he just made me realize, there was a ton of holes, or like my basic understanding of computer science was not that strong. And that there is a lot more to be explored than being able to put features together, to put libraries together. Or what now I know is that, like, back then, what is that I learned is I learned how to put libraries together to create a feature, but I didn't really understand like what was going on behind the scenes, what was the costs that were being made for the choices that I was making, and yeah, so I decided to like dive deeper, and I heard about App Academy. What is it that they offer? And then also I heard about that they do like 80-hour weeks, and then I'm a person that loves challenges. I wanted to go into Marines for that one certain reason. He was like, 80-hour weeks, sign me up. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I had some, there was a waiting period between that when I got accepted and to when I joined App Academy. So then I actually did an online one, which is called Covalence. Just like got to like learn some new techniques.
I didn't know you did
I did
another one in between.
Yeah, Covalence. Yeah. It was the online one. And then, and then I did App Academy. And App Academy was out of this world. I remember the second week into it, I was just like blown away. If anyone is an App Academy person, it's like such a fantastic curriculum and school.
It's one of the top boot camps.
Yeah. Just to give you guys an idea, like, I don't know if any of you guys know what an LRU cache is. See, algorithm person, sorry. I'll always like drive the conversation towards it, but I love it. We built the LRU cache in like the second week of App Academy, and then like that, just things got like more and more intense, and it was just like so great. One of the things that I love is, with any challenge comes great growth and opportunity. So, yeah.
And didn't you do alcohol as well?
Oh yes, alcohol is a software engineering interview training.
Yeah. Could you just talk about that a little bit for people that don't know, and then we can jump into the question.
yeah, sure. So, well, I don't know how long it was. It was about 5 weeks. I mean, you can go to the website.
Did you do Outco after you worked at the first startup, or before you even got your first job?
About 4 or 5 months into the startup. It's after work is hours, so I started at about 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that.
Okay, so you got a job first at Harvest, and then 4 or 5 months in, you decided to do Alco, just because you wanted to work at Fang Company, or is that the reason?
It was mainly because of my manager, which isn't there anymore. So if you guys want to go work for Full Harvest, it's a great company, by the way. But the manager kind of like just ticked me off. So I decided to like explore other opportunities. And also on top of that, like I really enjoy challenges, and that's what one of the trade-offs in which that or one of the things that I really love about Google is that like there's so much tools and such smart people, and like I can get as much work as I want to get. I can really dive deep into rabbit holes if I really want to.
But what made you decide to go to Outco? You were able to get a job without going to Outco. Like, what made you decide to like go to Outco instead of just looking for another job?
The way that they pitched it was that they're really good at algorithms, and then they're like, oh yeah, we'll like last week we did this one algorithm that was like asked by Uber, and I didn't know what it was. Like they said some fancy name, and then that was just kind of like my shiny object that I went towards. Even though if you're going to go to Alco, it's not, I don't recommend it for algorithms. They're really good in the behavioral portion. They're exceptional at preparing resumes. They're exceptional at preparing your communication. They're exceptional in a way of being able to use the whiteboard, or how to basically like behave in an interview or whatever. But as far as the algorithms, is pretty basic. Basic is not the right word, because there's I've seen a lot of resources that are out there that share the algorithms that they have.
Okay, we can jump in. I think that's a good intro. I just wanted to make sure people knew your journey you took, because uh, it's not normal. You did 3 boot camps and Outgo, and you made it to Google within what, 3 years since you first started coding,
Yeah,
or
I mean, it's less than
about that?
yeah, it's,
2 years,
yeah, I'll say 3 years. I'll say 3 years.
3 years
Yeah,
from zero to Google, which
yeah.
is pretty amazing. So um, yeah, now I haven't looked at the Slido. There's probably tons of questions in there.
Yeah, there are a few.
So we're probably not going to get through all of them. So make sure people are upvoting questions that you like. And I'll let Brady moderate as usual the questions.
That works. Cool.
All right.
So here I'm gonna. All right. This one is, how realistic is it to seek out a software engineer position immediately after completing a bootcamp program? Are you really equipped, or is that case by case?
So I saw that this was online yesterday, so I had some time to prepare for it. The short answer is, and sorry if this contradicts a lot of people, but I'm just gonna say short answer is no. And the reason why I'm gonna say no is because like the I think Brady like touched on it in one of her videos, is that that boot camps like teach you how to think and how to learn, and they really prepare you in a like that foundational steps. But like you are going to need to do extra work on top of it to gain the knowledge and knowledge skills in order to land that job. In my opinion, um, I haven't met anyone that came straight out of boot camp without some kind of like very strong academic background that was well prepared for an interview. They either they needed to work on their communication skills and be able to, like, I mean, that's huge in interviewing, being able to communicate, and to be able to understand the fundamentals, or the, like, how is it that I said earlier, is that like understanding how to put libraries together is one thing, but understanding why is it that you're doing something and what is it doing is another. One of the quotes that I heard from a really great engineer is that the difference between web development and engineering is, of course, there's a sliding scale on top of it, but that on the engineering side is understanding that every single choice has a cost, and understanding what those costs are, and if you're willing to afford that. So yeah, that I mean, you're definitely on the right track after you come out of a boot camp, and you'll be able to do it, definitely.
That's a really interesting quote. I like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump on to the next question, though. Are there any resources that you use and recommend to further someone's knowledge of data structures and algorithms? I know you mentioned that Outco is maybe not the one.
Oh, I mean, they break it down pretty well, and the fact that you can like, knock off questions with a human being is excellent. I think it was just that, like, at the level that I was at during that time, that was it, that I didn't eat out a lot out of it. Because yeah, I as you can tell, like, I spark up whenever I like talk about algorithms. Like I feel that I'm on the better side of it. But yeah, like to answer that question, cracking it depends on your learning style. I'm gonna like summarize it up to that. Like I have seen a lot of people that love like textual book-based material, and they like rock it on like cracking the coding interview algorithms by Skiena, Skiena. Yeah, Ena. That book is a great book. If you want to take it up to another level, there's elements of programming interviews. So like that's the text base, right? That's if you rock the text based world. And then there's another one that really likes the video hand holding tutorials, in which that some people not my recommendation, but people enjoy Algo Expert. And the reason why I don't recommend Algo Expert is that it's kind of limited. But it does give that kind of like walkthrough or yeah, just walkthrough. I'll just keep it at that. And then, but like for me wise, like what, for those people who have like taken algorithms to like a whole nother level are those people who have like really jammed out like a ton of different algorithm challenges. And the people that I'm talking about are the people who have gotten into FANG companies, and that these are kind of where my data points are coming from. They all like swear by leak code, or I mean, like you can also go with other stuff like Cold Wars. You can go blind.io, I think it is, something like that. But I mean, there's like all these different like resources that like do what is it that I think is the reason why people achieve that level of algorithm expertise, is that they just like throw you a whole bunch of challenges. And then by doing so, you start to understand, all right, this data structure is good for this, but when I used it for this, it did not work. And that's where it comes into that whole entire thing that I said in the beginning, right? Is understanding the cost of the decisions that you make in engineering, right? And so yeah, like and the part that like makes leak code so special, at least for me wise, is that there's discussions, right? And then inside the discussions, like I got to examine like expert level engineer, algorithm experts, or like performance people inside of there. And not only that, I got to examine engineers that got it done, but it wasn't as optimal, or wasn't as well written. And as you'll find, and Sam, Brady, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like the more code that you read, I feel, the better of an engineer you become. And so like I mean, is it like that's also like a great, in the sense of like seeing bad or not as great code and great code. You get to see like how is it that you're going to be able what engineers call code smells, right? It is just like these blocks, these little pieces of code that are just like, this isn't necessary. And then you basically get to take that out. And I don't know if Google or other places like judged me on that, because I didn't get any feedback on that portion. But if I were to be like reviewing an engineer or interviewing another engineer, and I would like see that their their solution was didn't have like these code smells, then I would feel that there would be a lot stronger candidate, in my opinion.
And then I got a quick follow-up question. So when you read cracking the coding interview, like how do you go through it? Do you just start from the beginning, or do you do a leak code challenge and then look up how to do it in cracking the coding interview? Like how did you use that book?
I read like 10 pages and I stopped.
Wait, you recommended that as a resource?
No, I said there's certain people that rock it.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay,
what I
okay.
said. That's what I said.
So
Look,
you're not one of the people that
no,
rock the books.
I am one of those people that wants to demolish other people's code. That's why I'm like, leak code, I'll submit it like 6 times. And if it's not 100%, I'm going to find out what the 100% is and submit that code just so I can get the 100.
That's not always the best code though. I probably hate your code. I hate all the top voted like code and like leak code and stuff because you can't read it. It's like clever and
Yeah.
it's like fast, but like
Although,
if
I
that
mean,
code comes in my PR, I'm giving it a thumbs down. It's not getting into the code base.
do you think though, I feel like there are some companies where it's worth being clever. I mean, it's worth being very, very, very performant versus readable.
It depends.
So,
Yeah, it depends. Maybe
yeah,
at Google that matters. I build internal tools, so performance doesn't matter at all most of the time. As
at
long
my
as
company
it's
either. Yeah, it's readable.
as
I
long
need to
as
be
like
readable.
as long as the app works and it's not painful, then it's better. So like you said, there's trade-offs. So you gotta look what you're doing. Um, if it's something that needs to be performant, then maybe those clever leak code answers are the best. But a lot of places you work, a lot of startups, readability most of the time is the most important. So the simple solution in a lot of cases is better than the solution that's more performant or is like a code golf kind of solution where you put everything on one line.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the answers on like these like um, sites. They do like bit flipping tricks and stuff like that, which if you try to read it, you're just like, how does this even work? But
Well,
yeah, so
I,
trade-offs for everything.
yeah, exactly. And like for those of you that are going into interviews, like definitely, like if you are able to like communicate that with your interviewer, I feel that is like
Yeah,
really like you're gonna be like so like highly rated, because like if you're gonna be able to be like, yeah, like I could use this bit mask thing, but then that would be not readable, and then like I could trade that off by using
yeah.
this other thing.
I wouldn't if you don't know why though, like really well, I wouldn't bring it up unless the interviewer like
Oh
ask you because you're gonna dig yourself into a hole. So
yeah,
when you're doing an interview, don't try to say stuff to sound smart because you're gonna dig yourself. It's gonna fire back on you most of the time. Um,
I'm gonna use this doctor's
I,
pen.
I've done that when I was a noob. Just try to say something to like sound smarter, and then the interviewer will just dig into that thing that you just said, and you're like, oh shit, why did I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
There's a follow-up question about these algorithm problems. Um, do you have any sort of rule of like how long you'll stick with a problem before you start looking for hints?
Yeah. Five 5 minutes. Yeah, I would say is about. I don't really have a timer or anything, but it's about 5 minutes. If I like make no headway or whatever, if I do make some headway, then yeah, I'll keep going. But if I'm blocked it for 5 minutes, then I'll like get into it. It's a lot of it is just like being able to like understand what's going on. It's not necessarily about like being able to bang your head on the table the hardest. It's more just being able to understand what's going on, because and even to today, how is it that I solve algorithms is I create a complete brute force solution, and I'm going to give away Alco's secret, but like you literally make a brute force solution, and there's so many benefits that I won't go into on why you want to do that, but you make a brute force solution, and then from there you like basically see like where are the bottlenecks inside of this, and then by like, okay, the bottleneck is here. Okay, how is it that I can remove that bottleneck? Like so it's so a lot of that. And then oh yes, and then where was I going with that? Is that like you see a bottleneck, and then you're like, okay, I remember how is it that I solved this bottleneck, or how X person solved the bottleneck before. And so it's just like being able to see those patterns, and like that from like what is it that has been passed down to me, and I'll pass on to you guys, is just like being able to see as many solutions and challenges. And I think then like that is what it is called, that people call experience, right? Like it's being able to be put into these situations and being able to come up with solutions. That way you gain your experience a lot faster.
Great. Do you have any recommendations for bootcamp grads on how to just get a foot in the door and kind of stand out when you're sending out applications?
Numbers. Yeah, I think just numbers is my strategy, at least, that I found. I mean, that cover letters is a very low ROI on top of there. Tailoring resumes, in my opinion, is low ROI. It depends on whether like the companies that I did want or highly valued, then yeah, I will admit, I'll put in a little bit extra effort, but like yeah, I think like the biggest thing about getting into the first portion in any company is all about your resume. And Alco taught a lot on top of that, like about like how is it that formatting matters, and how is it that like the structure of each bullet and all this kind of stuff. They go in even into this portion in which that they give you like this huge chunk of 100 resumes, and they have the whole entire class go through the 100 resumes and pick out which ones they like the best. And I kid you not, everybody, or 95% of them, like pick this one format, and you never ever understand why, but it's just like these little subconscious like tweaks that you can do. But I think like to answer the question in short, is like the resume is the biggest portion. If you want to like beef up your resume, then it's formatting is going to be about 10%. Two is going to be like the complexity of, or degree of difficulty of your bullet points. Three would be like how well is it that you understand what is going on. If you tell me that you use Redux, and you're not telling me that that it's like for state management, and how is it that Redux, or elaborate some way that why is it that you use Redux into that bullet point, then like that wouldn't be as beneficial. And then finally, the last thing would be like 4 is like impact, like the impact in which that I did. I know a lot of people on here are new bootcamp grads, and that it's hard to get that last portion on the impact. You can't say that by using this thing, you optimized your application by X%, because you don't have enough data or usage. But I mean, like even simple things like hey, I normalized my database, and like you could just like think about it like, hey, what happens if I didn't normalize my database? What if it was just a whole entire one table? How much space would that be in comparison? Then you can like say inside of there that you saved X percent amount of space, and then no matter who is it that reads your resume will be able to understand the impact or the gain that they're going to have by bringing you onto the team, and also that you're communicating what is that you understand what's going on. So
when you said numbers at the beginning of the answer, did you mean like adding numbers to your resume, or did you mean the numbers like if you just send out the enough number of resumes, then eventually you'll catch someone's eye?
yeah, machine gun style, I'm pretty sure someone has this question because I always get this question. It was like, what was my day of after boot camp was like? It was 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, doing any kind of networking, emails, coffees, from 9 o'clock to about 9, 10 o'clock at night. It was just like cramming, just studying. And then after that,
wait, can you stop one quick? You said like coffees. So how did you like set up meetings with engineers, or was it with other people at the boot camp? Like who were you having coffee with, and how did you set those meetings up?
yeah, at that time, like they strongly stressed like networking and all that stuff, even though if there was like zero return on any of that. But they said for me to do that, so I did it. And yeah.
But like how did you set up those meetings, and with who?
Just email them. They're people are normally nice in the field, I feel.
But how did you find them?
LinkedIn or like going to meetups. I mean, I know it's difficult,
Okay.
COVID,
but you said it wasn't successful for you, all those people that you met.
yeah. And to give you some statistics on that, like I had a director at Workday. He was like absolutely like I want to hire you, and if I don't hire you, I'm gonna like have my friends hire you. That didn't pan out. And like I have so many other stories in personal. And then my other friend, he was like one of those extroverts, like big on networking, marketing, et cetera, et cetera. He had over 20 referrals and like people saying that they're gonna get in, but that didn't work out. And before you go with all these like statistics and stuff, like tides change or whatever. So, I mean, use this at your own discretion. Like this was 1.5 years ago. But
you
yeah,
kind of got to see what works. You're actually the first person I think who's recommend the spray and pray. So you kind of got to see what works for you. Because like I'm opposite too. I never applied for any of my jobs. I'm the anti-spray and pray. But that's just what worked for me.
yeah.
I
I think it's a little bit different though, because for you already had experience under your belt, right? Like
no, but like this is about getting your first job, right? Like even my first job, I never applied for it. Even my first contract job, even trying to start a startup, like all those things happen organically just from people I met. So like I never went on like a job hunt. But yeah, continue with, you never got to, I stopped you in the beginning of every day from 7 to 9, and then what were you doing? What did you do for the rest of the day?
Oh yeah, so after like my brain was just like fried and everything, I would basically like zone out to Netflix, and then I would copy and paste this one paragraph and then change who it was addressed to on AngelList, because I found during that time at least that it had the most traction. And yeah, it was great because then I got in like 60 apps a day, and I got hired.
Wait, 60 or 6 to 8? What did you say?
Yeah.
How many? No, did you say 6 to 8 or 60?
60, like
60?
60.
You applied to 60 places a day.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And what? You so you're saying
he said he likes a challenge.
So you're saying How long did it take you to apply to 60 places?
Oh, not that long. About like 45 minutes ish. Yeah.
So were
But
you
like,
doing like quick
how do you,
applies?
yeah, how do you find 60 places in 45 minutes to
Oh,
apply
you go on AngelList, you put on the filter, and then like you
to?
literally just like click or command. You gotta open up the new tab, right? Or else you gotta there's that latency, right? So you gotta
So
command click and then da 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 like
you
that.
just applied to every single position that was open then?
Yes. Ooh, which is the other thing that I like. It's just like hidden gem. Is hidden gem that people don't know about. That you have to
You,
apply to like jobs that you don't qualify for. Like apply to data science jobs. Apply to senior engineer jobs. Like I'm not even joking. The two job offers that I got straight out of boot camp. So I'm gonna keep this straight out of boot camp style, rather than me transversing and transitioning into Google. Like that were for senior engineer positions. They're for 5+ years. Senior engineers had leadership, have experience, but like those are like the best because they're hidden gems. Those are the companies that are like, maybe we don't that we our company had this discussion. We're like, maybe we don't need a senior engineer. Maybe we can have a junior, or like, yeah, see, a software engineer sounds good right now. We did have this guy apply for a data science position, but like, I ain't want we just check it out.
I can say
yeah.
that's pretty similar to how I ended up with my job. I applied, it was a mid-level role, but I was just getting really frustrated because a lot of people were like, network, network, network. And I had applied to like 3 places over many, many months. And imposter syndrome, I was like, well, I'm not going to get a job because I'm clearly not good enough. And someone was like, just apply to places. And I did. And I remember pressing the button on like, there were like 2 specific days where I was just like, if they want me, they're gonna just train me and I'm applying. And they ended up calling and they're like, well, we actually need someone with that experience for that role, but if you want, we could get you into this other position and it's an entry level. And I was like, yes, I'll take it.
That's the best because nobody's applying for those. The best jobs are the ones that like nobody are applying for, or you like know your auntie and your auntie knows auntie. Oh, sorry, I'm from Hawaii. This is how we talk. Like auntie knows aunties know aunties, and that's how we get jobs.
Man, you take spray and pray to the next level. I never, you don't even think about it at all. I never heard that strategy of just like click the button and open up all the all the job openings and just apply.
Did you have any balance of like, I'm going to do this, but I'm also going to try to have like good quality? I mean, you were trying
Yeah.
to network. Did you end up applying to places that were really strategic in the way that you applied?
Yeah. Like the ones off of LinkedIn, like that AngelList, great for startups. The ones that like LinkedIn, I did do a few LinkedIn here and there. The I like to manage my time with like 90% like super effective. What is it I find effective? And then 10% like just trial and error kind of like exploratory stuff. So with the 10%, like I did like LinkedIn, and yeah, I did like tailor out my resume, et cetera, and then I did land an interview over at Asana for their new grad job. Very great company. I would highly recommend.
Yep.
It was like the best interview experience. I would just interview there every single day if I could. Great company, and yeah, it's. I did tailor my resume for the
Did you
companies I care about. Yeah.
did you get statistics by any chance? You said Angelus was the best for the spray and pray. Did you keep any statistics on that by any chance?
No, because then like it wasn't necessarily on the numbers. It was more on the time that I cared about. Yeah.
It's just easy to do spray and pray on AngelList or something.
Yeah. I mean, like, if I did a LinkedIn one, right? Like LinkedIn would take about 15 minutes to complete. And in that time, I could have done 10 applications on AngelList. And then like, I would say like, I had like about 2 or 3, I would say a 3 on average interviews a week off of AngelList. Whereas LinkedIn, I had that one. That's it. So, yeah.
Interesting. And Full Harvest, that was your first job. You got that off of your spray and pray on AngelList?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So wait, did you end up getting through the end of your day? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like
Got your
how
application.
many hours did you spend like a day? And did you do it 7 days a week?
Yeah. I don't know how to work less than 60 hours. Like, it's weird to me. I get like shaky and stuff. Like, this 80 is average.
So you didn't burn out? Like how long did it take you to get your first job?
Less than 2 months, I think. Yeah.
But that's after you did 3 boot camps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I almost owe everything that I have to App Academy. No offense to the other places. They were great. But,
So you think if you went to App Academy first, you only would have did 1 boot camp?
oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I would have been. I've talked to a few other bootcamp grads and like heard their curriculum and what their culture is like. It's I would still choose App Academy. I don't know about Lambda School. I saw their curriculum, but the thing that App Academy has that no other bootcamp has is that they have a really, really strong culture. That every single person that gets into that door is willing to put in the work. They already have the mindset: 80-hour weeks. I'm gonna struggle through this. I might get kicked out. Let's do this. And like,
I think that might get kicked out thing is key right there.
yeah,
Dev Bootcamp was the same thing. I
Yeah.
think App Academy culture came from Dev Bootcamp because the founder was in the first cohort of Dev Bootcamp. Hack Reactor and App Academy were born out of people that came out of the first cohort at Dev Bootcamp for
Oh.
some from bootcamp history.
cool. Yeah, I mean, like, it taught me a lot. I haven't talked to any Dev Bootcamp grads, to be honest. Hack Reactor, Flatiron. Anyways, that's regardless.
Yeah. So what was your day again? You did. Can you recap that real quick? Just what your typical day was.
7 to 9, I did any kind of networking. So like replied to emails, cold emailed. The cold emailing was not very effective. Getting coffees with other people was not very effective. But I did it anyway because I thought, put in that 10% into like try maybe it might turn up something. Then like about 9 o'clock, I did like any kind of studying that I felt was necessary at the time. Coming straight out of App Academy, I loved algorithms, but then at the same time, I knew what was more important for the companies that I was applying for. And also, coding challenges and all that kind of stuff, or like they give you like, hey, this is what the interview is going to be like, so I'm going to be studying that. Right. So yeah, then so not 9 to 9, I did any kind of studying, and then after that, brain fried, Netflix watching, copy pasting into AngelList. So.
Damn. Okay, we can move on to the next question. We got a lot of questions.
Oh gosh. Okay. So, what's something you know now that you wish? Good, I did unmute myself. What's something that you know now that you wish that you knew when you began your job search?
This is a really good question. I think it would be that take advice as a single data point and not a factual rule to live by. I think that would probably be the one, because like coming out of App Academy, they actually did this survey where they like asked all the engineers, how is it that they got their jobs, and like over 70% of them said that they got it like how Sam just said, is that they got it through some knowing somebody. And so that's why a ton of us hit the ground running with coffees. And that none I don't know of anybody that panned out for, except for 2 people, which those 2 people already personally knew the people that referred them very, 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 very closely. So yeah, I think that's probably it. Is just like take it as a data point, realize that you're a different person, you're going to learn differently, you are going to have successes differently. And yeah, I think like also yes, also I think like limit the amount of input. I don't know if anybody's read the book Deep Work or know any like productivity tips, but then the less amount of input that you have, like social media or like people talking or any kind of input, the more focus that you get, and the more beneficial or more productive you are in the short amount of time.
Yeah.
So.
At the boot camp, they had a rule where you couldn't take out your phone for the whole day. You had to put $1 in a jar if you took out your phone. And you couldn't check your email, or you couldn't check social media or anything. Those are all penalties at the boot camp. And also on the coffee tip, yeah, I networked a lot, but not coffee. I didn't cold email people. I didn't do coffee. When the way that I networked, I built more meaningful relationships because I volunteered a lot, teaching people other people how to code. I volunteered at like tons of different organizations. The main ones I did was Railsbridge, Mission Bit, Open Tech School is a thing. I went to Node School sometimes. I worked at that bootcamp as a mentor. I TA'd at General Assembly. And I did a ton of hackathons. So when you do a hackathon with a team, like you all get to know each other pretty well during the hackathon. So those are some ways that I did networking. I didn't do like cold emails or coffee and stuff.
If you had to pick, what are a few need-to-know data structures and algorithms that would give the best understanding of the field by their study? Or does that exist? Like, what's the 80-20 rule of algorithms? What's their biggest return?
Probably the hash map, a set. Yeah, I mean,
that's my favorite data structure, set.
Set hash map. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's not. I mean, like, I know I absolutely love algorithms, but like the amount of times that I actually use it, even now, like it's very, very rare that I'll ever run into anything leak code medium or harder wise. I use it as what my senior engineer calls as mental mass something playing. There is that term in do you swear in this? But
I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you talk however you want to talk.
Is what it's called. And yeah, I use it as my Sudoku or crossword puzzle. So
I may have talked over you when you were just saying what it was called. I'm sorry.
Mental masturbation is what it's called.
Regarding like data structures and algos, like preparing for interviews, like what was the difference you saw between like interviewing at smaller startups versus like Google and
Oh,
TikTok? Like
oh,
what kind of questions did they ask? Like did you even get algorithms and data structures at the smaller startups?
yeah. I was like so shocked. I literally was going through a solution and like I was like brainstorming and like I was telling about the trade-offs and all that stuff. They like were like, oh, okay, that's really good, but we just want to see a solution. Like we don't care about the time complexity. And then like oh that like made me really unnerved, but I went through with it. I was like, okay, I
'Cause
did it.
I
And then
think
afterwards they followed up.
um yeah, I think at smaller startups that's why they're just struggling to survive. They just need like they need a product, you know.
Yeah.
Um a lot of times like bigger companies, I've had lunch with like the director of engineering for Foursquare and stuff like that, and they told me stories about like how the founders just they're like Jack Dorsey, they're just hackers, you know, they just put together something and people start using it.
Mhm.
And later on, somebody else smart just comes and rebuilds the whole thing. So Foursquare was rebuilt after they gained traction. They hired that guy who was really smart, and he just threw away everything they built and started all over.
Yeah.
So that's why when they're interviewing, when you're in like the early stages, sometimes they don't care about like the algorithms and data structures. They just like they just want to know if you can build what they need to be built.
I think like for startups at least like one of the biggest things that they look for is whether or not you understand how to build um, understandable APIs or like um, what's the not standard but like the engineering standards, whatever the word is, that yeah that you understand like the culture or the the way of the engineers that posting a request doesn't edit, or like get is a getter and setter and all that kind of
And
stuff.
just understanding like
Yeah,
um, rest and stuff like that.
yeah, or even
Um,
object oriented programming, right? Getters and setters. So yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
that was both my full harvest. They're zero algorithms. They just wanted to make sure I could fetch data, I could
that's
post data.
that's that's my experience too. I haven't a lot of it's not very heavy. Most of the places I've interviewed at didn't have much data structures and algorithms.
Hmm.
If there was, it was common to have it on the technical phone screen for some reason. They have like it's usually like an easy level kind of leak code question. But whenever I got on site to the companies, I did mostly front end, so that might be a different too. I even at Lyft, I didn't have a data structures and algorithm question in my interview. It was all practical. It was like show you a GIF, build this in CodePen, go on the whiteboard. Let's talk about how to build this app like that from a high level. How would you build this app that we want to build? And then behavioral and just like a API kind of question too. I guess that is common too, even for front end developers, because you got to know how to build APIs. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't. I interviewed at Lyft twice though. The first time I interviewed at Lyft, there was one interview which was like an easy level leak code question on site. But a year later, when I interviewed at Lyft again, they changed the front end interview, at least for the higher level. Like, not for some reason, they do more computer science stuff on the entry level for, but then I think they assume you just know that for like the higher level. Um, so they just skipped it. They just were more focused on here's the thing, go and sit down and build it.
I'm going to kind of combine the next two questions. Were there, just because, were there any resources that you used to get a job at Google? I'm not sure if that means like leak code type stuff, or the next question, or if it's other resources. Because the next one is then, can you explain the process of how you got into Google? Did you get in by interview or referral?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that. Yes, referral, and yet no referral. The reason why yes is because, let me roll back. The reason why no is because coming out of App Academy, I actually got contacted by Google, and I got offered an interview, and I stayed in touch with that recruiter. And so when is it that I wanted to apply or interview, I just like pinged her, and it's just like, I'm ready. And the reason why yes is because I was like, I know that my friend is going to benefit from this. So, I attached her name, a name to my resume, as a referral. And not only that, and this might be beneficial to other people as well, it is that I asked other engineers at Google that know about me to attach their name to my application as well. So I had a total of 5 people on as a referral going into.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
That probably helped a lot.
yeah. That's what my recruiter actually said. It was like she was like, I didn't have any referrals going into Google, and you have 5. Wow! Like,
how did you know 5 people at Google? Do you just know a lot of people, and how did you get to know them?
yes. So that's what might be like a takeaway for people is that like and Sam, and been watching me for a while, is that like I've been posting on LinkedIn, like my work. Andy, what up to you, because you've been doing great. And yeah, I've been just like posting, and then so it was just super easy to ask them for a referral. I was just like, I just knew them by name. They knew me by name. And then I basically just reached out to them, and it was just like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but yada yada yada. If you need any type of validation, I'm completely willing to do that. Or if you want to just like go on my LinkedIn and just like see what I've been up to, like you can do that as well. I solve X amount of problems on LeetCode. These are the levels, and these are like some challenges that I solve. Like, would you be willing to give me a referral? And it was a pretty easy thing.
So,
like when people come to me for like, hey, can you give me a referral? I'm just like, I don't know you. Like, my integrity is on the line. So.
Yeah, for sure. So you met all the referrals on LinkedIn then?
No. I knew them either through Slack. We've messaged like a few times, just like chit chat. Hey, what's up? Very little, but they knew my progress. Like they liked my posts, or they answered my questions on Slack, or I had a discussion with them at the
what Slack is this?
At App Academy Slack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, App Academy.
So those people went to App Academy too? Like, how were they in the App Academy Slack?
Yeah, yeah, ton of. I think about 1 or 2 graduates out of App Academy per cohort go to Google.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a super strong network then.
I think
then why
Google contacted me, because like I think every single person in my cohort got contacted by Google, and like I didn't apply. I don't know how.
And then why did you get 5 referrals? Like, why didn't you just stop after you got 1 referral? Like, what made you just keep asking more and more people?
It's gotta be 100%, Sam.
So you just got as many as you could to refer you?
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that. I was like, just 1 referral. I never thought about asking more than one person too.
My application is in this folder. It's like almost like laminated in the sleeves, and there has inside of there my cover letter, my resume, my certificates that I got in the military, my recommendation letters. And nobody read it. They're just like, oh, cool folder.
They probably just looked 5 referrals. Okay, guarantee interview already. And you said they contacted you out of App Academy. Like, why did you wait like a couple years to actually go and interview then?
So I just got the call, and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do it. And of course, like every single person, I'm gonna push it out 2 months. And within that 2 months, I already got a job offer or 2 job offers. And then I was like, oh, burn in the hand, 2 in the bush.
Then how did it come back up on your radar to go interview at Google?
I love learning. And I felt like I hit a plateau at my job. On top of that, like, yeah, I got really interested in distributed systems. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to move to a larger company.
But then you went to TikTok.
Yeah.
So like what made you were at TikTok, that's a big company.
Yeah.
Like what made you like decide to go interview at Google when you just got hired at TikTok?
This is being recorded, Sam, but you can just look
at you can say pass. You don't have to answer every question.
All right, so then moving on, what goals should you set for yourself 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and then a year on the job? Or do you have any goals for any of those specific times?
Now? Or
sure.
out of
for knowing that you're talking to people who are getting started in the industry, is there anything that you could recommend to them as goals that they might want to have?
Yeah, get your first job. After that, like explore as much as your interests as you want after that. And then do what is it that you love. I mean, software engineering is such a huge field. You can go down so many rabbit holes, and you're not going to be an expert in everything. So yeah, I mean, I as far as goals, it really depends on the person. For me wise, it was, just get a job. And then after getting a job, I want to become the best engineer that I could. And then after that, I want to learn how to like build systems at scale. And then now, like I want to dive deeper into like how behind the scenes work, like how does even JavaScript work, or like how to build things at scale at the same time. So yeah, but I mean that's so hard. Some people love front end, and that's a whole other beast.
I think it's really hard to quantify or to give suggestions for goals, but I think maybe within the first month, I know on different weeks we've talked a lot about setting up coffees to get to know a bunch of your different coworkers, and like having some way to be able to check in frequently with your manager and see if you can set up one-on-ones. Some companies, if they're bigger, might have some sort of like roadmap for you that might help you figure out some of these goals that you want to reach. Because at every job, and depending on your coworkers, it could be very different, probably in a lot of different places.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the things that I would recommend on the learning front, because it seems like that person is like really big on learning and becoming the best engineer that they can be, is the biggest method or the best method that I've learned to become a better engineer efficiently is to build what is called like mental models. Um, and with that, like building a mental model of like the system that you are working with, or building mental model of like the technology in which that you're using. It really helps out and connect the dots. I'm currently learning how to learn. I know that sounds silly, but I'm trying to become much more efficient on learning. And one of the things that I've learned from the people who are very skillful at retaining and absorbing information is that is how is it that they do it. They just like create these like easy oversimplified models inside of their head, and then with all the knowledge that they have, they kind of just like link it all together to make it understandable in their own mind. So yeah, if that's words that you want to get into learning the trade, that's how I would say do it.
Now, you have are you working with a coach to learn how to learn?
I was, yeah, now I'm currently doing it on my own.
Cool. How did you, do you have any resources for people who'd be interested in looking into that?
Yeah, I could pull it up. Yeah, and you can ask the next question if you want while I pull it up.
Okay, cool.
Also, somewhere earlier in the chat, I think we forgot about it. Somebody asked if you were willing to share your resume so they could see it as an example.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll be happy
to. So this next question is, how did you practice for coding interviews, specifically how to answer them successfully?
Practice, getting feedback, being able to like, yeah, just receive feedback. It's tough. If you don't have a partner, then, record yourself. That's the next best thing, but that's still through your own, lens. You want to be able to get as many opinions from different lenses as possible. If you can, get a hiring manager, a senior engineer to be able to like critique your communication. That's probably the best. And if you can get a senior engineer, get them to get your resume too, because yeah.
And then I don't know if you're able to answer, but this question is, what type of interview questions did they ask during the interview process at Google? Like what algorithm questions?
Ooh, algorithm questions. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. I mean, they weren't like super crazy, but they are really all over the board. That's from all the people who I've gathered data from. It's like they really asked everything.
Was it still all on the whiteboard? I know they were talk about like transitioning away from that, because when I interviewed there a few years ago, I had to do everything on the whiteboard. Nothing was on the computer. Like even when they asked me to build like an app, they wanted me to code it on the whiteboard. Like not pseudocode, like real JavaScript code. And I heard they were starting to use Chromebooks. Did they start doing that when you interviewed there?
Yeah, so I interviewed during COVID, so we did it remote.
Oh, yeah.
Google Doc. Yeah.
Okay. How many, so this was asked maybe before you were talking about your day. How many hours did you dedicate to programming practice upon completing a bootcamp program?
Oh yeah, about 12 hours a day. Yeah. even like when I was working and stuff, like I put in another like 30 to 40 hours on top of work, just like studying algorithms or whatever.
So after you graduated, you were doing the 12 hours of code and then also applying?
Yeah.
Wow. So that was like 15-hour days still after you finished boot camp?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, except maybe I'll take that back. Not 7. I remember I said 7 days a week, but on Sundays I needed to do chores. So
Gotta get your food.
Wait, so
Man.
even when you got your first job, you spent 30 to 40 hours outside of work
yeah,
studying?
yeah.
Damn, dude. How many hours do you sleep? Like, how many hours do you need for like a good night's sleep?
Oh, 8 hours. I need 8
Oh, you
hours.
still sleep 8 hours? Wait, so if you work 40 hours, how many hours are in a week?
It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty much then you were just like, all you did was sleep and code then.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. I think like part of it too is like how I said in the beginning was limiting the amount of input, right? So I try to limit it um,
Dude,
because
um,
I want to get to a certain point.
what about now though? Did you like scale it back? Because that's how I was too. The first year I went pretty hard. I don't think I went 40 hours
Mm.
outside of work, but I did like study every day, 7 days a week. I think at least a little bit outside of work. But after the first year, and as the years go on, I think I scale it back a little bit. So like, what are you doing now that you made it to Google?
Um. So I mean, like I do 2 hours a day during the weekday, and then do about 8 on the weekend. So 16 plus 10. That's like 26. Yeah, I mean that's towards like engineering wise. But then I have like other goals.
Yeah, all your memory stuff. Like, what do you call it? What do you do for your
Um.
reading exercises and your memory exercises?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. It's like
Uh,
super learning, ultra
su-
learning. Yeah,
super learning.
yeah. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, efficient learning, whatever.
Damn. So you haven't scaled it back too much then.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just you just um doing other stuff besides coding, but still spending the time learning. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the awesome thing about like being at Google is like I'm surrounded by like these genius people, and it's like when you're the F student, right? You gotta like push yourself up to get up to the bar.
It's terrifying to hear that you view yourself as the F student.
Oh my gosh, they're so smart. I mean, like, but I've only been at Google for about 4 months, so like, yeah.
And is it what you hoped and dreamed it would be?
It's hard to say. I mean, yes, in the terms of what is that I really value, which is learning. They are very, very supportive in, personal development, engineering development. I mean, they're even supportive in other areas of personal development, and like if you want to, like pursue other hobbies, and getting good at. So, that so it really resonates with me on that front. As far as like on the personal side or relationship side, that's hard, I think, or hard to put a real temperature gauge on it, being that I've only been remote. So yeah.
I'm also just seeing that David, it looks like, had posted the breakdown of a week: 168 hours in a week, 24 hours a day, 8 hours of sleep, 16 hours left.
That's an algo challenge right there.
Yeah.
Figure out how many hours a week Steven's coding outside of work.
Awesome.
Uh,
All right. So, what is the most important thing you learned that was not taught in your boot camp but helped you in getting that first engineering job?
Code style is huge, I think. Like being able to organize thoughts and code same time, I would say. Probably, yeah. Or maybe it goes back to the first thing, which is like understanding that everything has a cost. Because then I think like having that always in the back of my mind has been very, very beneficial. Because at least like coming out of a boot camp, like I never understood that. I understood, the tools that were available. And now I don't think of it as just tools. I think of it as, I guess I still do think of it as tools, but I look at the tool in a different view, I guess. So
Yeah, I think after you've been in the industry a while, you just realize everything you do has trade-offs.
yeah.
So anything you're going to work on, everything in software engineering has trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is a trade-off. There are so many wonderful things that we do with technology, and then there's always like
sometimes analog is better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I've been like typing and monitoring a bunch of different things, so I'm sorry if you already talked about this. This question is asking about like, are you able to say what your tech stack is that you're working in? Or what you're doing or anything? Or
well, I mean, like even if I were to, I mean, other than my language, they wouldn't be able to know. I mean, I can mention Google's protobuf because that's completely public knowledge. C++.
Yeah.
Public
We
knowledge.
use protobufs too. I think that's getting to be common.
Yeah.
Anywhere that has microservices architecture.
Yeah.
A lot of the service to service communication is protobuf.
Yeah. Other than that, like even if I were to mention it to you, you would even know it. So I would, just to save myself, I'm gonna leave it out.
okay.
Yeah. I can say my stack for the front end people. Lyft is it's pretty standard across Lyft, at least for internal tools. Web is React, TypeScript, Node.js, and then there's a ton of services at Lyft. So like there's there's a library for like each. There's a library that was built at Lyft that just wraps Axios and handles the service to service communication. And then yeah, that's the main thing. And then it's moving towards Next.js. They built the abstraction around Next.js. So
wow.
Going forward, they recommend every front end app use their new libraries called Lyft Service, and under the hood is just Next.js, and a bunch of plumbing so that it works with all the Lyft infrastructure.
But you don't need to, for Google, you don't need to, you can, this language agnostic interview, if that's what they're asking about. I mean, you can, I interviewed in JavaScript.
Yeah, me too.
So.
Yeah, I interviewed at Google 3 or 4 years ago, I think. I didn't get an offer though.
I have not interviewed at Google.
I only got it because I had a Facebook interview and they let me skip the Google phone interview and they just brought me on site because I had an interview at Facebook. I've done 3 technical phone interviews at Facebook. I never made it on site. And then every like 6 months, a recruiter always comes back and like, you want to try this different role? But I always freeze up. I get anxiety from interviews and I'm not super good like Steven at algos and data structures. Well, I haven't spent as much time. I probably spent much less hours doing algos and data structures based on the numbers you're like giving us.
So I mean that kind of like brought up one thing that I like to say is that like I would say like go into as much interviews as possible. Like one of the things that I to this day know is that there's so much things that I don't even know that I don't even know. And by going into interviews, that has really like opened my eyes to what is it that I don't know, and therefore what is it that I can't know, and what is it to dive into. so yeah, like if you are like currently in the job search process, like try to get as much interviews as possible under your belt so that you can become aware. One of the best interviews that I had, like personal developmentally, as in a personal development manner, was Triple Bite. They from what the interviewer told me is that they basically do like a binary search on top of your knowledge. They do hard and easy, and they find like kind of like where is it that you're at, and that was like absolutely great because they also like explained the solution to me. So then and a lot gave me material to dive deeper into it. So that was like amazing. I actually want to like take it again, and if they don't, then I kind of want to make a new profile and do it again because like it was hard. It was super hard.
Is that interview to work at Triple Bite, or that's just for their platform? So like,
yeah,
what is that?
Their platform.
For the platform. So how does Triple Bite work? Just for other people might not be familiar with it.
The way that I'm sure there's a way to like automatically like submit your interest into it, but then the way that I stumbled onto it was through somebody posted a link on top of LinkedIn, and then I was just messing around, and I took it, and then it happened to be a Triple Bite interview. I passed that, and then I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I went to their remote on-site thing, and then yeah, that was a great experience. It was way more applicable, in which that they did things like debugging. They asked you about like threading. They asked you, I don't even.
And what do they do with that interview? They record it and show it to other companies, or like
I know.
what is?
I know
like,
that basically like give you feedback. I don't know if they record it though. Yeah.
Oh, it's just like a practice interview.
Well, you get a certificate, and then
Oh, you get a certificate.
if you get that certificate, you are able to go onto the platform, and then the platform is kind of like AngelList, in which that they have like a whole bunch of companies that they partner with.
Oh.
Wait,
so you can't get onto Triple Bite unless you pass that interview?
not onto that section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then not only that, like they also offer job coaching as well. I don't know how good it was because I already like went through Alco and everything was pretty done, but yeah. I'll take a last question if you guys have one more.
Yes, we definitely have one more. When comparing pedigrees, like bachelor's, master's in computer science compared to just a bootcamp experience, how does one approach the job search? Like, is a degree mandatory, would you say?
No.
Easy answer.
Yeah, no. I talked to my roommate. My roommate has a bachelor's in Berkeley. He says that it's not that beneficial unless you're really interested in that kind of stuff. Then maybe like go for it. But like, yeah, you definitely like coming out of any boot camp. I could have like done this whole entire process by myself, though it would not has been as guided. And I think that's the reason why like I'm like such a huge believer in App Academy. But yeah, like I could have done things myself, dove into docs, got mentorship and all that kind of stuff, and been to the level of all the people that have come out of college. Yeah, I mean, there's also like other resources that are available out there. The landscape is also changing so much too.
There's so much free information now on the internet.
Too much information.
There's a quick follow-up question though, if we could ask you that before you leave. I'm pretty sure you're gonna say yes to this. It's a could I add on to that? Like most job listings require a degree. Does one apply anyway?
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, yeah.
You're applying for data science roles and you're not even qualified. You're gonna totally do spray and pray.
Yeah, it sounds like your application strategy is do zero thinking, just click the button and apply.
Well,
Like
yeah, because like
a
the
lot of people overthink everything. I noticed that people not just applying for jobs, even just doing 100 days of code, a lot of people are like way overthinking it. That's why I'm like doing it, and I'm just doing anything, posting memes and stuff, just to kind of demonstrate
Mhm.
that you don't need to overthink. Just do whatever's.
Yeah. And like for those that like just want one of my best tips for any engineer in general or in life in general, I would say and uh, Sam, Brady, you can like tell me if I'm wrong on this, but like I feel one of the best things I learned coming into this field or the Bay Area, maybe it's a Bay Area thing, is the thing called a retrospective. A retrospective, if you never heard of it before, is basically a highlight, low light, and then just what things can go better, and it bases off of the 80-20 rule, in which that 20% of your time produces 80% of your results, and if you do more of that 20%, then you produce more results. And if you do what this retrospective is meant to do, basically you're going to find out by just asking these questions of what was effective during this time and how can I do more of that, what was not effective, what can I learn from that, and possibly how is it that I can transform what did not go well into something that is effective. Like the more you do that, the more adaptable you'll be to situations, the more effective you'll be in life in general, in any area. Like relationships, you can put this towards relationships if you want to. um, uh, and yeah, like that tool, that system has been such a big thing in my life, that most companies they do it on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis or whatever. Like I found so much benefit from doing that. Like I actually have implemented that on a daily basis, to which that now at 8:30 every single morning I have a phone call with a partner and we run through that in about 10 to 15 minutes. We do the retrospective for about 5-10 minutes, and then on top of that we set our intentions for the day, like what are our goals or meaningful objectives for the day.
Do you do you actually do retros like personally, just by yourself, or is it just at work?
I think no. Like I do it maybe like while I'm lying down in bed, just like, hey, what happened? But
Oh, just like in your mind, you're doing it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
kind of
think
just like back.
I think that earlier when you were talking about like getting senior engineers to critique you and like talking about all of these different like just keep applying and go through as many interviews as you possibly can. I know that a lot of people just kind of get scared because they don't want to fail, and having this perspective right here sets you up for like, well, you're at where you're at right now, you can't do anything about it, and then you can just do this retro to see where could I improve in no matter what. So it is a great mindset, great way to approach improving.
Cool.
And I mean, there's a million more questions. I could go on and ask more questions, but I know that it sounded like you needed to get going, so we can go ahead.
I mean, feel free to like message me if you guys ever want to do this again or whatever. It was great. I'm happy to help. Sam, again, I'm forever grateful. So, yeah. Thanks.
Very cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks
We
for
can
joining us.
stop recording, and then if anyone else is able to hang around and wants to introduce themselves, we can have a little time for that. So here, I'll stop recording.
You can also ask us questions. We'll stop using the Slido though, and people can just ask questions.